Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor. I want to go through this quickly. The CPI just came out and it blew expectations out of the water. All kinds of things are going up in price except for airplane tickets. So you can go on an airplane if you can wear a mask for like however long you can suffocate yourself for. Oh, and have your nose picked by giant Q-tips.
Take this thing out of the case and stick it up your nose. Just shove real hard.
Screw your freedom.
Let's take a look at the CPI, and there is one thing about it that is not going to be mentioned in the media that I will show you here. Let's take a look. All right, so in general, the CPI went up 6.2% and expected was 5.8%, but really it's not these overall numbers that matter, except for psychology or psychological reasons. What really matters is food, and food is up 5.4% here in this highlighted little thingy here. And if we go down and look at beef, index for beef month over month from last month is up 3.1%. And if we go on the year over year numbers here, proteins, these are what are really going up. If you eat meat and eggs, meaning if you have muscles and you're not a vegan, then you are paying a lot more for meats, poultry, fish, eggs. That whole index increased about 12%, 11.9%. The index for beef rising 20.1%. The index for pork rising 14.1%. I don't have to worry about that. I don't eat pork. Its largest 12-month increase since the period ending December 1990. But you know what declined? Here. Let the mainstream media really emphasize this point. The index for food at employee sites and schools declined sharply over the past year, falling 45.4%. Why is that? Because people don't go to the office anymore. They're all at home because they're afraid of getting sick or something. I mentioned this in a previous video that the prices for used cars and trucks were not going to go down because we have a serious problem with inventory. And in order to preserve remaining inventory in the US, used car prices are going to have to skyrocket. So you have the index for used cars and trucks rose 2.5%. That's just in 1 month. This is after that humongous rise the last few months. There was a little bit of plateau, and now it's starting to rocket again, just like I said. The index for new vehicles was 1.4% in October, a 7th consecutive monthly increase. Now, year over year, we have used cars and trucks. See, month over month in August was down 1.5%, then down 0.7%, a little bit of a plateau month over month. Now, all of a sudden, 2.5% rise, and we still have a 26.4% year over year rate of increase. Now, here's what you're not going to see in the media. The biggest component of the CPI is, wait for it, owner's equivalent rent, which is a made-up number that doesn't even exist, where a bunch of Fed interns with a lot of zits on their faces.
Why am I working here?
Even I can't answer that, and I was a philosophy major at Brown.
Go and call a bunch of people who have houses and ask them theoretically, what would you rent it out for in this market? And they give you a made-up number that they come off the top of their heads. And then that's the biggest part of the CPI, which really shows you the essence of the CPI is bullshit, but what can you do? So we have owner's equivalent rent is up. If we zoom in, let's not zoom in, let's just go here. And we have October 21, 3.13%. That's all. It's just rent up, bro, just 3.13% in this made up number. So the numbers that these non-renters who are imagining renting out their homes for, they are raising their theoretical numbers by 3.13%. And this is the biggest part of the CPI. But that is still historically very, very low. We can go back to the peak of the housing bubble, and it was 4.2%. So given that owner's equivalent rent is not even at historical highs or anywhere near it, what happens when owner's equivalent rent, the largest component of the CPI, and these people who the Fed interns with the zits on their faces ask, what are you going to rent your house for? And they start raising their theoretical numbers because they realize they can get more money in their theoretical heads. Maybe they're paying off these theoretical landlords who aren't actually landlords and telling them to lowball the numbers just so they can have a low CPI number. What if they run out of money to pay them off because inflation's too high and they can't pay off the theoretical landlords anymore? I'm really going off of the deep end over here, but here, let's take a look at one more thing. Article that came out from CNBC. It's our favorite Fed guy, the hawk, James Bullard. He says he expects 2 rate hikes next year. That's great. How's he going to do that? He's going to have to stop the taper, and then he's going to have to lower the balance sheet. Then he's going to have to hike rates twice. And who's going to be buying all those bonds that they have to raise, all the money that they have to raise for their multi-trillion-dollar spending plans on infrastructure and gender programs and all that other nice stuff that we all want more of. And as per my previous video, which tried to make the point that the chase is on, the final chase is on, here is a direct quote that the chase is on from the mainstream media darling CNBC, the newspaper we all love to not support when it asks us to support. We continue without supporting. It says, this quote, Wednesday's consumer price index showed another month of inflation data well above the Federal Reserve's inflation target, primarily due to continued supply chain issues and labor shortages, blah, 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 always give excuses. If inflation doesn't subside, the Federal Reserve may need to taper at a more substantial rate and hike interest rates, which could hurt stocks and bonds. Nancy Davis.
Nancy! Nancy! Nancy!
Founder of Quadratic Capital Management said, I wonder if Nancy Davis knows what the quadratic equation is. Negative b plus minus squared b squared minus 4ac over 2a. I remember from 9th grade. Was it 7th grade? One of the grades. Anyway, she doesn't understand what inflation is, that's for sure. Because inflation has not subsided, because it already took place. You already added like $4 trillion to the money supply. Don't tell her that. This is Rafi of the Endgame Investor. The final chase is on. Don't know how much time we have, but it's not long. And it's not long before the Fed loses all credibility, and that's when everybody dumps the currency and the monetary system implodes. You can support me by signing up for a 2-week free trial of the Endgame Investor, where I guide my subscribers as exactly how to play this scenario. You might want a guide to guide you through it. Or you can support me on Patreon, link in the description below. Have a good day, have a good week, and a happy inflation to all of us who are prepared.
Screw your freedom.